This is the time of year when people try to drastically change their lives. They start 2026 all fired up, but most quit by February. This episode isn't about hype, it's about building long-term, sustainable habits that will help you succeed in 2026. Welcome back to the Big Lad Podcast. This is the first episode of 2026 and episode 101. Thank you very much if you've supported me so far. If you're new, hello. I'm George, the host of the Big Lad Podcast. If you don't know too much about me, I've got a lot of experience from different areas of life, whether that be in working in the corporate world for the last 11 years, having deep conversations with podcast guests, being in the gym for the last 14 and a half years, and also going back all the way to when I was a GB trialist when I was rowing in high school and college. A long time ago now. A lot of that knowledge is still there and it helps me day to day. Personally, I'm forever looking for ways to improve. I have an accounting background, so numbers is my thing. I'm by day a commercial project manager and a qualified management accountant. So getting into numbers really is my thing. In this episode, I'm going to give you an insight of the best habits that I've learned over the last decade or so to help you succeed this year. Everything that has worked in my life so far generally comes down to consistency. In this episode, I'm going to break down some of those habits and we're going to go through them one by one. First of all, I think everybody needs a little bit of a reality check. I need to reset your expectations because success isn't instant. It's going to take time, effort, and consistency. No one's coming to save you. It's all down to you at the end of the day. Discipline is always going to beat motivation. So I'm going to help you build habits that are going to stay there for the long run and that you can build over time. Quite a lot of people try to go from 0 to 100, especially at New Year. They try to drastically change their lives, and quite a lot of people fail due to that as well. Just let's have a think. So say if you're struggling to get to the gym at the moment, maybe you're going once a week, once a fortnight, you then set this crazy goal of going 5 or 6 times a week. That change is too drastic, too quickly. It's not going to happen overnight. What we need to do is build that over time. So we start going once or twice a week, and then once that's ingrained, we then put an extra session in and build on it. And maybe by the end of the year, you can get to those 5 or 6 sessions that you were planning on doing. But people try to make these changes too quickly, and then they fail after a couple of weeks and slip straight back into their old habits. Quite a lot of people also try to do too much. You still only have 24 hours in a day, so something's got to give. For you to put something into your routine, generally something has to come back out of that. Quite often, it'll be things like watching TV, scrolling your phone, and just generally wasting time. Once we figure out where we're going wrong in our current routine, we can then look to implement changes to progress further down the line towards our goals. You don't necessarily need a breakthrough, you need better habits, and you need to realize that the uncomfortable work is generally the work. At the end of 2025, I created a template just for you guys that you could review your 2025, everything that you did good, everything that you could have improved on, and it's a really comprehensive set of questions that will help you review 2025 and set up your goals correctly for 2026. If you'd like a copy of this, there is a link in the bio below. Go check it out. It'll take you maybe 15 or 20 minutes to do, but I've got a lot of really good feedback off the back of it to say that it's helped them set themselves up for this year. So if you'd like that, you know where it is. It's in the description below. So the first tip on my list, and you've probably heard this a few times, is to build a daily non-negotiable routine. Things that you've got to do every single day, regardless of what's going on. Success in 2026 won't come from motivation. It's going to come from structure and discipline. So things like waking up at the same time most days, getting some movement in, whether that's a morning walk, get some steps in early doors. I found this one for me is a really good one. It just sets you up for the day right. Instead of maybe waking up with your alarm, sat in bed for maybe half an hour scrolling your phone, especially if you're working from home, then rolling out of bed, going to your desk and working all day. It's a really bad way to start the day. I've found personally, if I get up a little bit earlier, get straight out of bed and go for a walk, sets me up for the day a lot better. Also, discipline over motivation. Like I've mentioned, motivation is emotional, discipline is reliable. Waiting to feel motivated is why most people stay stuck. And you've probably heard the quote from James Clear, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. You need to figure out, what do I need to do each day? And is that going to get me closer to my end goal? Have a look at your current routine and take out things that aren't really moving the needle. First thing, set a non-negotiable routine. It's going to set you up first thing in the day, and it's going to set you up for the rest of that day. You may even have things that you need to do in the evening or throughout the day, but just get that routine nailed. And like I mentioned before, don't try and change too much too soon. Change little things, and once they're ingrained in your routine, then you can start stacking on top of that. The next one, and you've probably not going to see this on too many personal growth or self-development podcasts or content. And for me, it's a massive one, especially with my background. It is budgeting your money correctly. I actually did a really good episode with Owen Talks Finance. It's episode 89 if you want to go check it out. We talk all about how to budget your money, invest your money, and make the most of it, because a lot of people are missing a few vital tools that they can do. First example is know your set bills. So your mortgage payment or rent payment, your car payments, how much you spend on food each month. Quite a lot of people probably don't realize how much they're actually spending. Your utility bills, anything that is set each month. What I do, I have a spreadsheet. So I have my wage at the top. I then have all my set bills, all my personal bills, and then I have what I put in my savings, what I invest, and then my fun money. And I think that's really important to know how much each of these is, because a lot of people don't really know. What I've also found through my account is quite a lot of people don't actually know how to invest, where to invest, or what to actually invest into. If you go check out episode 89 with Owen, we really do cover a lot of this. But for me, index funds are the easiest way for beginner investors. You're generally not going to ever be able to outtrade an index fund. So just keep it nice and simple. Plug the money away. Yes, it may go down in the short term, but it's all about time in the market. Invest for as long as possible. For me, when I'm investing in the S&P 500, I'm treating this as an early retirement fund. So for me, I actually want, it sounds a little bit selfish, I want the market to absolutely plummet so I can buy it as low as possible and then it creep back up to when I'm planning on retiring. Also, another thing that people need to do is budgeting for yearly costs, things like holidays, car services, any big expenditures that come up throughout the year, and just set aside a little bit of money. I personally now use Monzo. So Monzo is my savings account. I then have two separate accounts within that savings account. They're called pots. So I have one for holidays. I also have one for sort of car services, insurance, tires. And what I do is just plug like a general amount away each month. So when those things do come up, the money's just sat there ready to go. I don't have to worry about dipping into things like savings. Budgeting your money in 2026 for me is a massive one. What I can do, if people are interested, I can set up a really basic budgeter. If that's what someone's interested in, drop me a message and I will send it straight across. The next one is controlling your inputs and outputs. Inputs being things that you consume. So your social media, reading, magazines, articles. Control what you're consuming. If it's a load of rubbish going in, you're not generally going to get that much going out in terms of a return from it. Yes, we need our downtime. You may be into watching things like reality TV. Personally, couldn't care less about it. For me, my downtime's like watching football or a bit of YouTube. But generally, even the YouTube is a lot of podcasts, which are revolving around self-development. Things like Chris Williamson's Modern Wisdom and other podcasts as well that go along with that. One good thing to do would be to check out your screen time on your phone. How much are you spending on your phone? How much are you spending in apps and not really getting a return on that investment? Then choose podcasts, books, or videos that are going to teach or inspire you. For me in 2025, I wanted to really get back into reading again. I didn't quite get into that much, but I did find an alternative, which was Substack, which I've actually started writing article versions of the podcast. It's very similar to Twitter, but a lot more tailored towards writers. So they have things called notes, which is very similar to a tweet. They also have articles. Now, there's a lot of incredible writers on there that are talking about all different types of topics. So there's definitely a writer out there for you. But for me, I found it a lot easier to read a 5, 10 or 15-minute article than it was to commit to reading a 300-400 page book. Because quite often what would happen was I'd read it a couple of days on the run, miss a couple of days, forget where I was up to, and then have to go back a couple of pages to remind myself. So with the Substack articles, I was finding it a lot more helpful because I could read a small article in comparison to a book and get a lot more from it because I'd complete the whole thing. Also, if you want to read article versions of the podcast topics that I speak about, go check it out. I'll leave a link in the description below. So another thing that I found really helped me was going for a walk without headphones. Obviously, a lot of the time we are distracted. We're not just focusing on the thing that we are doing. We're always doing something whilst we are doing something else. So I started going for walks without headphones. But what I would also do is, because I would think a lot whilst I was on these walks, I would put my phone in my pocket, but I would leave it on the notes app. So when I opened it, the notes app was just on a blank note. So any ideas that came up, usually stuff to do with the podcast, I would quickly write them in, lock my phone, put it straight back in my pocket, carry on with my walk. They were then becoming really productive walks. Now, you don't necessarily need a podcast to be doing this. It could be for anything. But having that time where you just let your brain wander, go for a walk, take in the atmosphere, take in the birds tweeting, feel the wind, take in the nature, anything. I found those incredibly helpful last year, and I'm going to continue doing them into 2026. Another one, especially if you're a content creator like myself, I started scheduling content whilst doing steady state cardio. So whilst I was in the gym, I would do maybe a 20-minute bike at the end of a session, nice and light, just turning my legs over. And that's the time I would use to schedule my content. Yes, it kind of contradicts the going for a walk without headphones, but in that moment, I'm not really using that for thinking. I'm using it to be productive. So I'm not having to sit there and take other time up scheduling content. Found it really helped me. I would literally be able to get 5 or 10 pieces of content scheduled, especially with all the clips that I've got for the podcast. I do between 5 and 10 clips per episode, and I post them on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Mainly whilst I'm doing the steady state cardio, I will be scheduling on Instagram. I will then be putting the same caption into TikTok and just having it waiting there to just hit send, basically. Another one, I actually only heard about this one at the end of the year, and it is the idea of a chest clock. And it was from Chris Williamson's Modern Wisdom episode where he did it with a few friends. I think it was a Christmas Eve episode. Basically, he sits around every year and they do sort of life hacks for the year. And one that I took away from that was this idea of a chest clock. It's very similar to the Pomodoro clocks that people have on the desks where they hit it and it counts down from like 15 minutes. This is a sort of advanced version of that, and it's a chess clock. So in chess, whilst it's your turn, you sort of flick the clock to your side, and then it counts. I'm not that sure on chess, to be quite honest. I'm not an expert, but my understanding is that when it's your opponent's turn, the clock is on their time. When you take it your side, the clock starts on your side. The other day, I actually used this for the first time, and it helped me a lot. So basically, I said to myself, I want to do an hour and a half of work on the podcast. Any time that I'm not doing work on the podcast, I would then stop the clock. So basically, I would just use my timer on my iPhone, set it for an hour and a half, starts counting down. As soon as I'm not doing podcast work, stop the clock. This will make sure that I get 1.5 hours of specific podcast work done, and that any time that I'm not doing that, it's stopped. Really good one. And try it, because it'll make sure you actually get the work done. Because how many times have we sat there for an hour and a half and we only actually do an hour's worth of work because we got distracted on our phones? Yeah, it may then take 2 hours worth of time, but at least I've got my hour and a half done. That's the main thing. You can't expect a high level output with low quality input. That is the key of this one. Next one, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So growth lives outside of your comfort zone. Yes, it doesn't feel great at the time, but that's where we're going to see the most benefit. It's usually the work that we don't want to do where we see the most growth. So try and do one uncomfortable thing a day, or even a week. Start it off nice and easy. Speak out more and start before you feel ready. A lot of people wait for the perfect moment to start to do something. For instance, on this podcast, I started back in 2021 on my work's laptop and my work's headset looking like a Mackey's drive-through worker. It had the whole headphones and the microphone around the side. Not a great look, not great sound quality, and rubbish video. Until I was a couple of episodes in, I started using a camera, I started using a proper mic. Just start, because you learn on the job. If you're constantly waiting for the perfect moment, it'll never come. A lot of people struggle with the confidence side of things as well. Confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you earn over time. One of those, if you want to see the best results, you've got to do the stuff that you don't really want to do, because that is most of the time where you're going to see the most growth. Next one, set clear goals, then break them down. A lot of people have this massive goal and it looks daunting. It feels daunting. We have no idea how we're going to get to it. Break it down into smaller, manageable chunks. So you may want to lose 5 stone of weight. You may be really overweight. You might want to lose 5 stone. And that 5 stone seems ages away. Break it down into smaller chunks. Break it down into 1 stone chunks. But then break that 1 stone into 14-pound chunks. We often scare ourselves with our goals to the point that we think, what's the point? Because I'm never going to get there. But once we split that massive goal down into smaller chunks, into monthly, weekly, daily actions, they become a lot easier and a lot less daunting. Yes, have the big goal, but then don't scare yourself to the point where you don't work towards the goal. Just break it down. A goal without a plan is just a wish at the end of the day. So plan it out and really focus on smaller, manageable chunks. A huge one is building physical and mental discipline. A healthy mind helps you work towards a healthy body, and a healthy body helps you work towards a healthy mind as well. They work hand in hand. They're both tools, and treat them like it. So training consistently, like I've already mentioned, if you are struggling to get to the gym or doing any form of exercise at the moment, don't try and take it 0 to 100. The likeliness is you're not going to keep to it, and you'll probably overtrain in the short term, and that'll just put you off in the long term. So build it up slowly. If you don't know where to start, ask a personal trainer, ask a friend who might be more experienced in the gym than you are. Go with a friend. It's really simple at the end of the day. If you do need help with programming, things like that, I'm a qualified personal trainer. I've been in the gym for the last 14 and a half years. Reach out to me. I'm more than happy to give you some free advice. And if you even want to come on as an online coaching client, just let me know and we can sort it out. Next one, sleeping properly. This is one that I've always struggled with since I was sort of early teenager. I've always had a really bad relationship with sleep, and it's something that I'm really focusing on this year. I'm having a lot less caffeine, and that is helping already with me having better quality sleep. Because what I'd done in the past, especially when I first started working in the corporate world around 11 years ago, what would happen is I would rely on caffeine quite a lot. And then after work, I'd be absolutely shattered. I'd have a pre-workout which had like 300 milligrams of caffeine in, go smash a workout out, feel great, and then just not be able to sleep. And it'd just be this perpetual thing every single week. So I wouldn't be able to get to sleep till the early hours of the morning. I'd then be up really early to then drive to work because it was like a 30-mile commute. I was in Monday to Friday before the COVID times. And I just used to be constantly shattered. And then the caffeine would pick me up of an evening to go to the gym, get my workout done, and then the cycle would start every single day. And I feel like I'm sort of slipping into that a little bit again. So now I'm saying to myself, when I'm tired, I am just tired. Instead of trying to mask that with caffeine, I'm just letting myself be tired, get an early night, and then feel a lot better the next day. Another one, eating with intention. So we all know, obviously, the food is what is going to fuel our bodies, especially when it comes to working out. If you're putting crap in, you're going to feel crap after it. It's not going to fuel your sessions properly, and it's just, you're going to feel rubbish in the gym. You're going to feel under-energized. You're not going to have the energy to go and lift the weights that you want to. You're not going to be able to put the work into the sessions that you want to do. So eat good, whole, healthy foods. And again, if this is something that you struggle with, let me know because I can give you a meal plan very simply. One that I did struggle with last year was taking mental breaks when needed. I had a really bad episode of burnout for about 2 or 3 months earlier last year, around the middle of last year. Got to the point where I was only going to the gym once or twice a week, which is near enough unheard of for me in the last 14 and a half years of going. And I was just doing too much. I had a really busy time with work, so I was working longer hours. I was traveling a lot with work. I was doing a lot of hiking, and that was taking it out of me because it was early starts, long drives, big long walk, and then having to drive all the way home. I was trying to train for the indoor rowing championships, which I didn't end up doing because of this phase of burnout. I was just doing too much. I was burning the candle at both ends, and it was kind of like what I was saying before. We still only have the same 24 hours. If you're putting something in, something generally has to come out. So yeah, if you're really struggling mentally, sometimes just know when you need to take a break. And sometimes it does take a little bit of burnout to realize that you've gone too far in the wrong direction, just to take a little break when needed. When it becomes a couple of weeks or months, then you need to make a bit of an intervention because it's clearly not working for you. The last one on this is appearance. Looking good, smelling good, you just feel a lot better about yourselves. And, you know, if you go into the gym, go get yourself a new gym set if you can afford it. Go and, you know, look good, feel good. Another one, like I said, smelling good. One of the little hacks that I've had this year is finding these copycat aftershave brands. So I use a brand called Noted Aromas. Now, this isn't in any way paid for advertisement or anything. I've been using them for probably about 2 years. And for me, when people buy sort of fake handbags to look like they've got like a Louis Vuitton handbag, I disagree with. If you can't afford the bag, don't get a copy one. With aftershaves, I really don't get it because it is just the same thing in a bottle. It's just a smell at the end of the day, and they're all inspired by whoever, whatever. And you can get like 100ml for 20, 30 quid. So you can have like what smells exactly like a £300 aftershave for a fraction of the price. I found it good because I've got loads of different aftershaves now that I can just mix up day to day depending on what I'm doing or what event I'm going to. And yeah, had quite a lot of compliments over them actually as well, which is always good. This is the thing, you don't need to be extreme. You just need to be consistent with this. And again, it falls back into the routine. Make it a routine. Look good, feel good, smell good. And you'll just generally feel more confident in yourself. Next one. Surround yourself with better people or better content. So we all know the phrase of you are the average of the 5 people that you spend most time around. So have a look at those 5 people. Are they building you up or are they dragging you back down? There's a thing in the UK where the tall poppy syndrome is the tallest poppy always gets cut down. And I don't like that about the UK. The US seems to have a very different approach to things like entrepreneurs, people that take risks. They sort of shout for them and really get behind them. Whereas in the UK, it's almost like a jealousy thing, I find, that especially if you're from like a small town, people that do well in small towns tend to get dragged back down a little bit. And it was luck or things like that instead of getting behind people and supporting them. Really don't like that about the UK and it needs to change. But going back to your circle and the 5 people that you spend the most time around is if you want to drive towards a goal, find other people doing similar things. Spend time with more driven people and distance yourself from sort of constant negativity. If there's people around you that are constantly being negative, it's only going to impact you and make you feel more negative at the same time. And if you don't have the right circle yet, borrow it through books and podcasts, listen to things that are going to help you elevate yourself. And last one, spread positivity. I've seen quite a few accounts recently that are just literally going up to strangers and giving them compliments on the hair, the jacket, things like that. You don't have to go and do that in public, but just spread positivity instead of negativity. And if you're the smartest or most driven person in the room, then you're probably in the wrong room. You've probably heard Chris Williamson talk about the lonely chapter as well, which is the idea behind you have these goals and ambitions where you've kind of outgrown your current set of friends, but you've not sufficiently grown enough to be amongst your new set of friends. And it's that chapter in the middle. And I feel like quite a lot of people find themselves stuck in this situation, but then more often than not get dragged back down to the current set of friends because they're too scared to leave them, or you don't even necessarily have to leave them. It's just spending more time around the people that are going to bring you up instead of drag you back down to where you already are. Next one, track progress, not perfection. So people often don't start or people quit because they expect perfection. Most people fail more often than not. The ones that you see that are successful just gave it that one more try, took another loss, but then eventually got to a win. With progress, you've got to keep yourself accountable. Not only yourself, but get your family and friends on board, get your partners on board. If you've got these goals and ambitions, let them know. Say your goal is weight loss, you want to drink less. Let your partner, let your family, let your friends know that just let you know, guys, I'm going to be drinking a lot less at the moment because I've got this goal of weight loss. When they then ask you to go to the pub or go out for food and you say, no, I don't want to today, they'll be a lot more understandable. Instead of them not really knowing what your goals are and you're just constantly saying no, they'll start being like, oh, so-and-so doesn't want to come out with us anymore. Why? What have we done? Just be open and honest with what you've got to do and keep yourself accountable. Have weekly check-ins, whether it's with yourself, create like a little template to say how the week's gone, what have I done good, what could I do better, rate it out of 10. Really simple template just to keep you on track, and then almost form like a journal or a diary of what you've done well and what you've done not so good that you could improve on. And then instead of quitting, adjust what you're doing to then work towards that goal. We're not going to be perfect first time round. This podcast wasn't perfect. It's still not perfect. I'm 101 episodes into speaking to a camera. If you go check out some of my old content, it's nowhere near as good as it is now. And I'm still nowhere near as good as I'm going to be in another 100 episodes. Throughout this episode, you may see little snippets where it seems to change. It's because I've cut something out where I've stuttered or I've messed my lines up. It's never going to be perfect, ever. And the quicker that you realise that, and the quicker you adjust to make those changes, to make things better, then the easier it is going to be for you to keep going and keep progressing. If we can improve just 1% a day, those small improvements repeated daily will lead to massive results. It's not about improving 50% in one go. Yeah, it might happen on a couple of things, but generally, if we can just improve 1% every day, every couple of days, you are going to be better by the end of the year. You don't necessarily need to change your life overnight. You just need to show up daily. There's this story of making a pot. So there was one team that was tasked with making the perfect pot. The other team was just told to make as many pots as possible. So you got this team working really hard, trying to make this one perfect pot. The other team is just churning them out. They're getting as many pots made. Yeah, some of them are crap, some of them are quite good. But by the end of the time that was allotted for the task, the team that was making as many pots as possible made a better pot than the one team that had a chance to make one perfect pot. So it comes in consistency, it comes in quantity as well. Like I've mentioned, I'm 101 podcasts deep. I've got hours and hours of content. I also started YouTube years ago, so I've had a lot of time speaking to a camera, and it just gets better over time. There's so many episodes I've got where I'm going, and then eventually you stop those you learn from your mistakes, you adjust. Instead of going, you just be quiet for a little bit, get your thoughts together. And it eventually comes, you get better over time just with quantity. If you can fall in love with the process, the results will follow. Because someone who loves the journey will go a lot further than someone who's just in it for the destination. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be improving. So to sort of wrap it up, there's no perfect time to start other than now. Just get started. There's no perfect plan. It gets adjusted along the way. We start off with one plan. It might look completely different by the end, but through that constant trying, failing, tweaking it, we get to a point where it's a lot better than where we were when we started the year. But all that you can do is just start now. 2026 doesn't need a new you. It needs a more disciplined you. And if you commit to these habits for 12 months, you'll look completely different by the end of the year. So what I want you to do is pick one habit and just commit to it for the next 30 days. But what I want you to also do is let me know in the comments below what that one habit is and what your goal is for the end of it. Success doesn't have to be complicated, but it is earned. So let's all get after it. 2026 doesn't need a new version of you. It just needs a more consistent one. A year from now, you'll wish that you started today. If you enjoyed this podcast, drop a like. If you're new, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.